Hey guys, good morning. For today's video, Ano naman? Ano naman ho? Ay, so, baka man nagambal sa akon, gamas ko daan. Ano? Good morning, yan. Super paninlo ko subong.
That's about how to behave outside. 여기는 Lesson 31, Grammar 1. How do you say but in the middle of a sentence? You connect two words with 지만. It also means the same as however, except this is in the middle of the phrase. In other words, this is used to connect two clauses that are opposite to or in contrast with each other. Attached to a verb or an adjective, a noun is followed by 이지만. So let's think of a few simple examples. You could say, I'm hungry, and then but after that. So how do you say I'm hungry in Korean? 배가 고프다. Good. Now add 지만. Okay, did you try it? Good. Or you could say, it's hot, but it's not too hot, right? How can you say it's hot? 덥다. Okay, good. And then you add 지만, and then you can connect it to another idea. It's like using but in the middle of a sentence in English. So let's hear some examples about the weather and about places. 수루 씨 고향의 여름 날씨는 어때요? 30도까지 기온이 올라가지만 습도가 낮아서 많이 덥지 않아요. How about the summer weather in your hometown? The temperature rises to 30 degrees, but the humidity is not so high, so it's not very hot. Good. This was a long sentence, but we can find the place where 지만 is in the middle of it. And what's the word? 올라가지만. What does that mean? Rises. Right. the temperature rises, but see how the words are together in Korean? Great. Now, if the weather is hot, but it's not humid, that's not like Korean summer. Because in Korea, it's really hot and it's really humid here at the same time. Now let's look at another example, also comparing two places. 인디카 씨 고향은 서울하고 비슷해요? 아니요. 서울은 사람이 많지만 우리 고향은 사람이 별로 없어요. Indica, is your hometown similar to Seoul? No, there are many people in Seoul, but there aren't many people in my hometown. Okay, what's the word with jiman here? 많지만, right. You'll hear this a lot. Is 많다 a verb or an adjective? It's an adjective, so we can use this with verbs and especially with adjectives. Great. How about your hometown? Is your hometown similar to Seoul? Try it out. Seoul은 사람이 많지만, how about your 고향, your hometown? Lesson 31, Grammar 2. 사람이면, if you're human, you compare things. You may notice lots of changes. Here's how to compare two things. And it looks like a verb, 보다, but it isn't a verb here. You put 보다 right after the first noun. Now check this out. The order is different than in English. In English, we say Seoul is bigger than Busan. But in Korean, we literally say Busan Seoul big. Don't worry about that too much, but what I mean is it's a little simpler. The first noun, and then the ER, and then the next noun, and finally the adjective. So, it might seem like this should be an adjective ending or something, but it's not. We use it with a verb ending that attaches to the noun, which is not ER. Let's try a few examples and make sure you try a few more on your own. You can do it. 할 수 있다. In other words, this is used as part of the sentence that is being compared to, added to noun. If we say, Seoul is bigger than Busan, we start with 부산보다, right? What if we say, Seoul is bigger than another place, like your town? Then you say your town first. Good. So say the name of the town where you're from, and then 보다, and then you say Seoul, and then finally bigger. Good. Let's see a few examples in the conversation now. 모니카 씨 고향은 서울보다 커요? 아니요, 서울보다 작아요. Monica, is your hometown bigger than Seoul? No, it is smaller than Seoul. In the first sentence, we can see a question. 서울보다. What's the verb or adjective? 커요, right. So, notice that 서울보다 is in the middle, and then what's first? 고향은. It's possible to switch the order like this, right? That's why we have the markers in Korean, like and 은. So, is your hometown bigger than Seoul? Than goes together, than Seoul. 서울보다. And then how about Monica's answer? She changes the word, the adjective. What's that?
Okay yan.
Smaller, 작아요, right. So, than Seoul. It goes together. Just like 서울보다 goes together. 오늘 날씨가 참 춥네요. 네, 어제보다 기온이 내려갔어요. Today the weather is cold. Yes, the temperature has dropped below yesterday. What's another way to answer? The temperature is colder today than yesterday. Than yesterday. Than goes together with yesterday. So how can we say that in Korean? 어제보다. Great. Practice this on your own. Think of some examples like, my brother is taller than me. How can you start? Me first with 보다. So, 나보다. And then your brother is tall. You got it? Great. Lesson 32, Grammar 1. So, how do you make an adjective a part of the sentence, not just at the end in Korean? You put it in front of a noun, just like in English. However, since the adjective has da at the end, you need to add something to the adjective base first. That something is the marker n. This shows when an adjective is being used, like big hat, tall girl, old building. In English, the word order is our clue. In Korean, we have the marker too, so we can be sure we're describing the noun that's after it. Now you can make really descriptive sentences. You'll hear this a lot. For example, you might hear 큰, big, more than 커요, is big. You are really unlocking the secrets of Korean now. Let's practice using adjectives. In other words, this modifies a noun that comes after an adjective. When the stem of an adjective ends in a vowel or its final consonant n is used. When the stem of an adjective ends in a final consonant except for n is used. Consonant n, to be small, 작다. Small, 작은. Consonant vowel plus n. To be big, 크다. Big, 큰. Now, as you're listening, try to close your eyes and hear the adjective. So what sound will you listen for? Listen for the n, right? And then find out what's after it. What's the noun that it describes? Listen carefully.
리안 씨, 배가 많이 아파요? 네, 아까 찬 것을 많이 먹어서 그런 것 같아요.
Rihan, do you have a stomachache? Yes, I think it is because I have just eaten something cold. It was hard to catch. Did you hear it? What's the adjective we learned like this? 찬. Great, good. What's that from? Yeah, it means cold. What's the word after it? 고슨. So, is that a noun? Yes, it is. Good. And it means, in this case, something. You can often hear adjectives like this. Adjective 고, adjective 고슨. So, always keep your ears open. And let's hear something more.
누가 지민 씨예요? 저기 키가 작은 사람이에요.
Who is Jimin? Jimin is the short person over there. Yeah, short person. How can you say that? 작은 사람. If you meet me, you might say the same thing. Wow. Who is she? She is the short person. What if you're talking about someone who is very tall? Okay, change 작은 사람 to tall person. 키가 큰 사람. You got it. Great. And now let's check one more thing about the kind of restaurant.
이 근처에 맛있는 식당이 있어요. 서울 식당에 가보세요. 불고기가 아주 맛있어요.
Is there a good restaurant near here? Go to the Seoul restaurant. The bulgogi is very delicious. Okay, what kind of restaurant is it? In Korean, what do we say? 맛있는, good. And in English, good restaurant. What kind of good? Ah, we mean delicious. You got it. Lesson 32, Grammar 2. We've used also and also in another way to show the reason for something, but it can also be used to say what happens first. You'll notice that it's used with certain Korean expressions like go out to eat, or with things that are steps in a series like meet and then talk with someone. It's not really used with unrelated events, even if one happens before the other. So we follow the vowel rule, and remember the special verb 하다, which becomes what? 해서, great. To go, 하다. Go and then, 가서. To meet, 만나다. Meet and then, 만나서. To take, 찍다. Take and 찍었어. To get off, 내리다. To get off and then, 내려서. To do laundry, 빨래하다. Do laundry and then, 빨래해서. To call, 전화하다. Call and then, 전화해서. Let's hear some examples of this.
오늘 저녁은 밖에 나가서 먹을까요? 아니요, 그냥 집에서 먹어요.
Shall we go out for dinner tonight? No, I just eat at home. Do you feel disappointed? Yeah, it's fun to go out and eat sometimes. So what's the phrase that means go out and eat? 나가서 먹어요. Great, but some people want to just stay home and eat a simple meal. So they can go home and eat. 집에 가서 먹어요. Good. Let's hear a final example.
가족들에게 선물을 보냈어요? 네, 옷을 사서 보냈어요.
Did you send gifts to your family? Yes, I bought clothes and sent them. Good. Would you say this normally? I bought clothes and sent them? You might, but here is one phrase. 싸서 보냈어요. Good. If people buy food like a takeout and then they eat it, what do we say then? 싸서 먹어요. Good. Lesson 33, Grammar 1. When Koreans share good news with each other, they often respond using this expression, 좋겠다. This literally means that would be good. It means they are imagining the situation and thinking that it is a good thing for the speaker. And it would be a good thing if they were in the speaker's place as well. That's one way to use this verb part, get, which comes after the verb stem and before the ending oyo in the present or 없어요 in the past tense. When get is used with the present, it makes a sentence a guess about the future condition of the situation the speaker describes. It's a good way to show that you understand and care. In other words, this is used to get or tell about the current status or situation while looking at it. Another way to use get is when talking about a situation that happened in the past and making a prediction about how things must have been. You need a pretty good idea of what happened to use this. because you don't want to sound overconfident. Again, this is a way to show you understand the speaker's situation. If the speaker says she worked all weekend, you could change 힘들겠어요 to the past by adding ot after the verb stem. 힘들었겠어요. Got it? In other words, when guessing about the past event, you should put at, ot in front of yes. Let's listen to some examples.
설날에 한국 친구 집에 초대를 받았어요. 정말 좋겠어요.
I was invited to a Korean friend's house on New Year's Day. That's really great.
요즘 일이 많아서 너무 바빠요. 일이 많아서 힘들겠어요.
I have a lot of work these days and I'm busy. That must be really difficult. See how easy this is? You just add 겠어요 to the end to show that you care.
어제 제 생일 파티를 했는데 친구들이 많이 왔어요. 선물도 많이 받았겠어요.
I had a birthday party yesterday and lots of friends came. You must have received a lot of gifts. See, you need to know something about the situation or the culture to use this. If it's a tradition to give presents for birthdays, then you can say, you must have received a lot of gifts. When you think something is true and you think must, this is the time to use 겠어요 with the past. Must have received, what's that? 받았겠어요. Good. Have you got a good understanding of using get? Get it? Got it? Good. Lesson 33, Grammar 2. Remember when we learned about 능것? If not, you can check Lesson 20, Grammar 2. Using 능것 is like adding ing to a verb to make it a noun, like swimming in swimming is fun. But we didn't talk about what 것 literally means. It means thing. So you are literally saying swimming thing is fun when you speak Korean, which really makes sense because swimming is an action. It's an activity. So swimming thing, 수영하는 것, makes swimming an adjective and 것 is a noun. Otherwise, it feels like something is missing grammatically in Korean. As I said, Korean is very scientific. It follows rules well. Moving on, we can also use 는 to make a verb an adjective with other verbs as well. How about a swimming person or a popular song? We can say all these and more in Korean with 는. In fact, we can even say some things we can't say or usually don't say in English, like a furniture making job or furniture making work, as we'll see below. Just as every language has common ways of saying things, even though other ways are possible, as you keep learning Korean, you'll notice that this is a common expression. We'll see some examples below. In other words, this is used to modify a noun and indicate that the event or action is currently taking place. It is attached to verb. In the case of coda 부 is eliminated. Example, to make, 만들다, making, 만드는.
한국 사람들은 명절에 보통 뭐 해요? 고향에 내려가는 사람이 많아요.
What do Korean people usually do on holidays? Many people go to their hometown. So you notice the Korean expression 내려가는 사람, people who are going. In English, we just use subject, people, verb, go. So the Korean expression is very creative.
지금 듣는 노래가 뭐예요? 요즘 한국에서 유행하는 노래예요.
What are you listening to now? It's a popular song right now in Korea. What's the word for popular here? 유행하는. Good. And that 하는 means it's popular now. Let's see one more.
바루 씨는 무슨 일을 하세요? 저는 가구를 만드는 일을 해요.
Baru, what do you do? I work to make furniture. This is the example I talked about. Isn't that cool? You can say furniture making work, right in order in Korean. It's a great expression. Lesson 34, Grammar 1. A little while ago, we talked about 는 and reviewed 는것. Now we see a similar thing here with 는게 어때요? 어때요 is a question meaning how is it or how about this? But 는게 comes from 는것, and 게 is another form of 것. So again, we're asking how about doing something in English? That is what it means. This is good to use when someone needs advice about something and they ask you for help. You can give a suggestion politely by adding 는게 어때요? I always get confused about the spelling of this 어때요 thing. So don't be like me and send messages to your friends with a funny spelling. Just memorize it now. This is your chance. So let's try some examples here. In other words, this is used to recommend something to do or give advice to the listener. It is attached to verbs.
주말에 친구 집들이가 있는데 무슨 선물이 좋을까요? 세제나 휴지를 사는 게 어때요?
What kind of gift would you recommend for my friend's housewarming party this weekend? How about detergent or toilet paper? Okay, how about, what's that here? 어때요? Now, what's missing in the English that you see in the Korean? Yeah, it's the verb stem that's used with 는게, which is what? 싸. 싸 comes from what verb? Yeah, 싸다. And that means to buy. Would you buy toilet paper or detergent as a housewarming gift? That's a common gift here, something practical. But one time, my friend had about 10 packs of toilet paper after moving. So you can also ask if there's something else.
지금 밥을 먹을까요? 영화를 본 후에 밥을 먹는 게 어때요?
Do you want to eat now? Why don't we have a meal after watching the movie? What means of eating or asking someone's opinion? 먹는 게 어때요? If you can use this, you will have lots of friends. I don't know about your test score, but I think this will help you to definitely seem friendly to people. So, what should we do after studying today? Can you make a suggestion? Yeah, tell me. Lesson 34, Grammar 2. Have you had a good week? How about today? Can you remember everything that happened? What you did first, this morning, and then next, and then later? Sometimes when you tell a story, you need to explain things in sequence. If you tell someone in Korean, you have to use this. 끝났어. It's a way to connect two activities by showing that one activity finished first and then another thing started. For example, after I washed my hands, I ate dinner. Or literally, after washing my hands was completed, I ate dinner. This nasol means that the first activity got completed. It's finished. The important thing here is finishing the first activity before starting the second, as in 하고 나서. Let's check. In other words, This is used to express that finishing of one behavior is followed by the beginning of a subsequent behavior. It is attached to verbs.
미영 씨, 언제 밥 먹을 거예요? 이 일을 끝내고 나서 먹으러 갈 거예요.
Myung, when are you going to eat? I will go to eat after finishing this work. So what will Myung do first? Finish working. And then what will she start? Eating. Right.
모니카 씨, 당근하고 양파는 어떻게 할까요? 고기를 삶고 나서 볶으세요.
Monica, what shall I do with carrots and onions? Put them after boiling meat. What does this mean here? Yeah, they're cooking. They must be making delicious food. And what has to finish first before adding the carrots and onions? 고기를 삶고 나서. So, what happens first? Yeah, the meat needs to boil. Great. Lesson 35, Grammar 1. A little while ago in Lesson 19, Grammar 1, we learned about geo. That's used when we think we know about something we're asking, like a tag question in English, such as, isn't it? Don't you? Or aren't they? At the end of a sentence. This verb ending, 잖아요, is a little bit different. It's not used as a question. It's used with a statement when you think the person you're speaking to already knows what you're talking about. This is similar to saying, you know, at the end of a sentence. It sounds a little bit like the way teenagers talk. It's not very formal, but you'll hear it a lot. In other words, this is used when the speaker and the listener both already know about something. In case of nouns, it is used as noun plus 이잖아요. Let's hear some examples.
수피카 씨의 친구들도 한국 가수를 좋아해요? 그럼요. 노래도 잘하고 멋있잖아요.
Do your friends also like Korean singers? Sure, they are so cool and good at singing, you know.
주말에 쇼핑하러 백화점에 갈까요? 다음 주말에 가는 게 어때요? 다음 주말부터 세일 기간이잖아요.
Do you want to go to the department store to go shopping on the weekend? How about going next weekend? The sale period starts next weekend, you know. Lesson 35, Grammar 2. You know, when you're not very sure, you think maybe it might be right to say, at least you think so? Anyway, there are times when we're not sure about the fact, but we think something might be true. So we say, 는 것 같다. 같다 means same in Korean. So we're saying, it seems to be the same thing or seems to be doing the same thing as what we think. In other words, this is used when supposing the occurrence of an action or situation, or when telling about the speaker's opinion softly. This is used with verbs or adjectives. Verb, to be, not to be, 는 것 같다. To go, 가다, seem to go, 하는 것 같다. Eat, 먹다, seem to eat, 먹는 것 같다. To be someplace, somewhere. Seem to 있다, seem to be somewhere, 있는 것 같다. Adjectives, consonant. 는 것 같다. Big, 크다, seem to be big, 큰 것 같다. Small, 작다, seem to be small, 작은 것 같다. Adjectives, vowel, 는 것 같다. Noun, 인 것 같다. Student, 학생 seem to be a student. 학생인 것 같다. Doctor, 의사 seem to be a doctor. 의사인 것 같다. Let's hear some examples now.
사람들이 우산을 쓰고 있어요. 밖에 비가 오는 것 같아요.
People are holding up umbrellas. It seems to be raining outside.
모니카 씨, 화장품을 사야 하는데 어떤 게 좋아요? 이거 한번 써보세요. 싸고 좋은 것 같아요.
Monica, what do you recommend to buy cosmetics? Try this one. I think it's cheap and good. Here, 좋은 것 같아요 is used to express her opinion. It's a way to say things more politely or softly than just, this one is better. Have you ever watched the movie Catch Me If You Can? It's about a person who tries to do many things even though it's not really his job. For example, he flies an airplane, but he's not really a pilot. He seems like a doctor, 의사인 것 같아요, but he's not really a doctor. You can use this when you think that something will happen or something is right. Lesson 36, Grammar 1. There's a difference between the word see and look in English. We can see something, like a rose on the table, but we have to look at a rose. Or we can say that the rose looks pretty. Here, we're using the word look in the second way, to say something looks or appears to be. When we use this verb ending, it matches the vowel or consonant that's in the vowel stem. So pay attention. In other words, this is used to indicate one's conjecture or feeling based on the outward appearance of an object. It is attached to adjectives. 아 보이다. To be good. 좋다. To look. 좋아 보이다. 보이다. To be delicious. 맛있다. To look delicious. 맛있어 보이다. 해 보이다. To be uncomfortable. 불편하다. To look uncomfortable. 불편해 보이다. So let's check that one more time. If the adjective, which I said verb stem, but this is always an adjective, right? If the adjective is to be good, what is that in Korean? 좋다. Great. So if we change it to 좋아 보이다, what does that mean in English? To look good. Right, you got it. If you caught that before, you're a very good student. Now let's hear some example sentences.
투안 씨, 아주 바빠 보여요. 네, 오늘 일 좀 많아요.
Tuan, you look very busy. Yes, I have a lot of work today. Did you see what the adjective is here? How does Tuan look? Busy. Great. How do you say you look busy in Korean? 바빠 보여요. You got it. Great. Let's hear another example.
이 빵 좀 드셔보세요. 제가 만들었어요. 정말 맛있어 보여요.
Try this bread. I made it. It looks really delicious. Wow, homemade bread. That sounds so good, doesn't it? So, how do you say something looks delicious? 맛있어 보여요. Great. You can also say an adverb in front of it. In this case, really. What's that? 정말. Right. Or you could use the word that's in the previous example, very, 아주, excellent. Let's see another example using this in a conversation.
좀 불편해 보이는데 괜찮아요? 넥타이를 풀어야겠어요.
You look a little uncomfortable. Are you okay? I need to loosen my tie. All right. I wonder what the situation is. Maybe it's an interview or a stressful day at work. So look for the adjective that's used here. Can you find it? 불편해 보이는데. Right. Now, what's the adverb before that? Did we say 아주 this time? No, just 좀. Great. So not very uncomfortable, just a little uncomfortable. Well, that's more polite. You can also use another form instead of 해 보이다 by adding 게 to an adjective-based word. If we want to change an adjective to an adverb in English, what do we add? ly, 리. We can do the same in Korean by adding 게. We couldn't use this with look in English. It doesn't translate exactly the same, but it works in Korean. In other words, 게 보이다 with some adjective is an alternate form of this expression without any difference. So let's hear this in action.
그 옷을 입으니까 날씬해 보여요. 그 옷을 입으니까 날씬하게 보여요.
You look so slim in those clothes. Here you can see it means the same thing. There are two ways of saying it. You can choose 해 in the first case or instead 하게 in the second. In English, we say, you look so slim in those clothes, and we can't say another way like, you look slimly. But this makes Korean very expressive and creative, so try both ways when you practice. Lesson 36, Grammar 2. So, as we said in the previous grammar, 게 in Korean is equivalent to ly in English. So let's play a little quiz game. I'll say an adjective in English and you say it in Korean. Then I'll say the adverb in English and you say it in Korean. Are you ready to try? Let's go. The first adjective is delicious. What is that in Korean?
맛있다.
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 Good. Now,
맛있다.
deliciously, like he eats the food deliciously in English. What's that in Korean? 맛있게. Great. Okay, let's try one more. Let's try big in English. What's that in Korean? 크다. Good. And then we don't use that one in English, but we can say largely, right? So how about in Korean? 크게, right?
크게.
Sometimes we say speak louder, speak loudly, right? And then you could use this instead of loud, 크게, 크게 말하세요 in Korean. Wow, you're following along. In other words, add 게 to the stem of adjectives. It makes adjectives to adverbs. All right, let's listen carefully.
불쾌하게 해서 미안해요. 괜찮아요. 신경 쓰지 마세요.
I'm sorry.
하게 해서 미안해요. 괜찮아요. 신경 쓰지 마세요.
맞아요.
I'm sorry to make you unpleasant. It's okay. Never mind. Here you can see the word in Korean for unpleasant. What is that? Right. 불쾌하다. So, we might say this in English, I'm sorry to make you uncomfortable, right? But that's a different vocabulary word. So, literally translated, unpleasant. And how did you say that's okay? 괜찮아요. Good. Let's hear another example using an adverb.
초대해줘서 고마워요. 맛있게 잘 먹었어요.
Thank you for the invitation. I really enjoyed the meal. Okay, I really enjoyed the meal. Oh, but it's different. What does the Korean version say? 맛있게, right. We don't say, I ate deliciously very often in English, but it's a great expression to compliment someone who gives you some food. So let's try it together. How can you say, I really enjoyed the meal? 맛있게 잘 먹었어요. Great. Now let's hear another one. Some advice at work.
직장에서는 예의 있게 행동해야 해요.
You should be polite at work. Yes. What's the adjective? Polite, right. And 행동해 means act, to have behavior. So what kind of behavior? 예의 있게. In other words, as an adverb in English, politely, right. And let's hear a final example that's about how to behave outside.
여기는 공공장소니까 그렇게 크게 떠들면 안 돼요.
This is a public place, so you should not be so loud. All right, what's the word used for loud here? We practiced this before. 크게, right, because it's talking about the sound you make. It should not be a big sound. It should be a small sound, quiet. Don't think that every adverb in Korean has an adjective that matches. Just like in English, some of the words match. We can say quick and quickly. But fast is just an adjective. We don't say fastly, right? It can't be changed to an adverb by ending it with ly. In the same way, well is just an adverb. Like you did well. It doesn't have ly. So it also can't be changed back to an adjective by using the same word. What's the adjective of well, by the way? Yeah, good. The word is good. It's a different form. Well, Korean is like that too. In other words, the adverbial form of some adjectives are different with the form of adding 게. And from the beginning, there is only the adverbial form. So let's look at some examples of adverbs in Korean that don't have adjectives which correspond.
많이, 멀리, 일찍, 조금, 빨리, 천천히, 높이.
Right. None of these have 게, but they're all actually adverbs, right? In English, we have words for these as well. Do any of these have ly in English? Let's see. Oh, there's one, right? Early. Good. Now, what is that in Korean? 일찍. Good. So you don't need to add 게. There's no adjective that matches it. What's another word in English with ly? Slowly. Excellent. What is the word in Korean? 천천히. Yeah, good. So you'll see some patterns, like many of these adverbs end with the E sound, 많이 and 멀리, but they don't all look the same. You'll have to memorize these one by one. Make some flashcards. Lesson 37, Grammar 1. Do you ever try to guess a word in a language, but it doesn't sound the same? I remember learning Spanish in high school and guessing that the word for embarrassed, like I'm embarrassed, was embarazada. But that word really means pregnant. Now that wasn't true. Oops. So, not all words mean what they look like when you're learning another language. It's the same with this verb ending. You can see it has only consonant u, shida, and even though it looks like 입니다 or 씁니다, this grammar isn't formal, so you shouldn't use it with the seniors and elders. After coming to Korea, sometimes I said to my coworkers, 갑시다, 갑시다. What does that mean? Yeah, it means let's go. But some of the older coworkers didn't like that. They said, oh, you shouldn't say that with us. So I realized, 입니다 and 씁니다 are formal, but 갑시다 is not as formal. So let's practice when to use this. In other words, this is used to suggest or request some action to younger or the same age as the speaker, adding verbs. It cannot be used when speaking to a superior. It is considered improper etiquette. Consonant, 읍시다, to eat, 먹다. Let's eat, 먹읍시다. To close, 닫다. Let's close, 닫읍시다. Vowel, consonant, just consonant, 시다. To do, 하다. Let's do, 합시다. To go, 가다. Let's go, 갑시다. To make, 만들다. Let's make, 만듭시다. Have you got the difference? All right, we're gonna hear this in some sentences. As you listen, imagine the people who are talking to each other. Maybe how old are they? Is someone younger or someone older? Or maybe they're the same age. Let's listen.
버스가 안 오네요. 택시를 탈까요? 아니요. 조금 더 기다립시다.
The bus isn't coming. Would you like to take a taxi? No, let's wait a little longer. Okay, so who used 읍시다 in this conversation? Person A or person B? Yes, person B did. So what do we know about their ages? Who is maybe older? Maybe B, right. Or maybe they have the same age. Good. And what is the verb here? What's the verb that we used with this expression? 기다리다. Okay, and put it together. 기다립시다. And what does that mean? Let's wait. You got it. Great.
기숙사 대청소 언제 할까요? 이번 주말에 쉬니까 이번 주에 합시다.
When shall we clean the dormitory? I'm off this weekend, so let's do it this week. All right, here's another example. What is the verb? 합시다. Good. Do what? What are they doing? They're cleaning something. Okay. What's the word for clean? 대청소. Now, 대청소 is a little bit different from just 청소. Do you know how? 대. Good. What does that mean? That means big or large or great. It comes from Hanja, which is Chinese characters used in Korean long ago. So, anyway, 대청소 means big cleaning, like cleaning the whole place. Good. What do we know about the speakers? They're about the same age. Right, and they live in a dormitory together, so that makes sense. Let's listen to one more example.
외출할 때는 출입문을 꼭 닫읍시다.
Be sure to close the door when you go out. Okay, here's an example. What is the verb? 닫읍시다. Right, good. Now, what does this mean? Let's close the door? Closing the door together? Or is it a kind of suggestion? Yeah, right. It's a suggestion. You do it. So you can use this when making a polite request. No way. Only to people who are younger than you. It's a little bit more polite than just command form, but it still should not be used with people who are not your age, who are older. Okay, you're doing great. Lesson 37, Grammar 2. When I was a kid, While You Were Sleeping was one of my favorite movies. As you can probably guess, it was a love story about someone in a coma. Eventually, she wakes up, and there's a happy ending. How would we say the title of that movie in Korean? While You Were Sleeping. We don't need to use the subject, which is you. We can just add the verb base for sleep, 자, to this phrase, 는 동안. So what's that? 자는 동안. We could also translate this from Korean as during sleep, but that doesn't sound as good, does it? We usually say during with a noun, not made from a verb, not a gerund, like during lunch or during 2016. So let's look at some more examples of how to use 는 동안 so we can tell our own love stories or whatever stories later. In other words, this is used to indicate the length of time when a certain action or behavior begins and lasting until it ends after verb. It can also be used with a. The subjects of the first and the second clauses can be different, and also it is used with time nouns. Let's hear some examples.
리안 씨를 기다리는 동안 같이 커피를 마실까요? 그럽시다.
Do you want to have coffee together while waiting for Lihan? Let's do that. Okay, what is the while phrase? While waiting, and in Korean? 기다리는 동안. You got it, good. Let's listen to the next example, and this time you should find out, is the word before 동안 a verb or a noun?
냉방을 하는 동안 창문을 열면 안 돼요. 지금 창문을 닫을게요.
You should not open the windows while air conditioning. I'll close the window now. Okay, did you find out? What is the word we use? 하는 동안. Good. While doing something. But what is the activity? That's before 하는. 냉방. You might not know this. It means air conditioning. So in English, air conditioning is a noun, but the activity of air conditioning, we don't say like this often. So remember in Korean, we can say while the air conditioner is running this way. And let's listen to a final example about something else that's running, that's on.
밖에 나가 있는 동안에 전기장판을 꼭 끄세요. 네, 알겠습니다.
Please turn off the electric blanket while you go outside. Yes, I understand. Okay, what else was running? Yeah, The electric blanket. Have you tried one of these? Sometimes it's very cold in the winter in Korea, so you need this to keep warm. And what's the request? While you're outside, don't do what? Don't use the electric blanket. Good, so turn it off. What is used with the 동안? 있는 동안. This is the location verb, to be in a place. And where is the location? 밖에. Good, while you are outside. Now you'll notice these examples all used verbs. Lesson 38, Grammar 1. Have you ever been to a live baseball, basketball, or other sports game? If so, where did you sit? People usually sit close to the team they want to win. They sit on their team's side. Side in Korean is 편. And there are lots of ways to use this word. You can use it for a sports team, or you can use it to describe something that's not quite blue, for example, but it's more blue than green. So it's on the blue side. It's closer to blue. You can use this just consonant 편이다 or 는 편이다 with verbs or adjectives. Like as an adjective on the big side. But with a verb, you must use an adverb first. In other words, this is used to state a characteristic in a non-decisive way. Something that is closer than another or is a certain way more than another. Verb, 는 편이다. To eat a lot, 많이 먹다. Tends to eat a lot, 많이 먹는 편이다. To go often, 자주 가다. Tends to go a lot, 자주 가는 편이다. To make something well, 잘 만들다. Tends to make well, 잘 만드는 편이다. Adjective, consonant, 은 편이다. Good, 좋다. On the good side, 좋은 편이다. Vowel, just consonant 은 편이다. Big, 크다. On the big side, 큰 편이다. We use this in conversation casually, like, how does this dress look? Does it fit right? Oh, it's a little on the big side, right? This is a bit different from the way we say things in English, so it is hard to translate. For example, we could say, tends to make well, or it's a fairly well made. It depends on the situation. If we look at one item, we'll say, oh, it's fairly well made. But if we look at lots of things, and we talk about if someone is making them well, we would say, oh, she tends to make things well. Let's listen to some examples.
비빔밥을 좋아하세요? 네, 자주 먹는 편이에요.
Do you like bibimbap? Yes, I often eat it. Oh, look here. Here's another tip. In front of verb, an adverb like as well, a lot, often, wrongly, that means degree or frequency, is necessary. So what's the verb that we use? 먹다, good. And what's the adverb that's first? 자주. It means often. Let's hear another example, this time with an adjective.
지훈 씨 일하는 곳은 어때요? 분위기가 좋은 편이에요.
How about Ji-hoon's workplace? The atmosphere is good. So what's the adjective? 좋은 편이에요. How about your workplace? 좋은 편이에요? Or if it's the opposite, 나쁜 편이에요? I hope not. And let's hear a final example about the weather.
한국의 여름 날씨는 비가 오고 더운 편이에요.
The summer weather in Korea is rainy and hot. Good. It's rainy and hot, but so are some other places. In Korea, the weather is 더운 편이에요. So it's on the hot side. Some places might be hotter, but Korea is still very hot. Lesson 38, Grammar 2. Now we can almost read a children's storybook in Korean. Why? Because storybooks often include dialogue or conversation. And to say that, you need to say he said or she said in the story. First, let's learn the present. He says and she says. And this is called reported speech in grammar. We'll also learn the past, like he said and she said later. In other words, this is used to indicate a citation of something you heard from others. In case of the statement, 다고 하다 is used for the present tense. Adjective verb, 같다고, 없다고 하다 is used for past tense. Adjective verb, 거라고 하다 is used for future tense. Verb, 는다고 하다, to go, 하다. To say the subject is going, 한다고 하다. To eat, 먹다. To say the subject is eating, 먹는다고 하다. Adjective, 다고 하다. To be busy, 바쁘다. To say the subject is busy, 바쁘다고 하다. To be many, 많다. To say the subject is many, 많다고 하다. Noun, consonant, 이라고 하다. Student, 학생. To say the subject is a student, 학생이라고 하다. Vowel, 라고 하다. Singer, 가수. To say the subject is a singer, 가수라고 하다. Okay, we saw a lot of verbs and a lot of adjectives and nouns together. So let's try to understand how they are used one by one. In the first case, listen for what is the he said or she said part and what did that person say.
투알 씨는 이제 고향에 돌아가는 거예요? 네, 다음 달에 고향으로 간다고 해요.
Is Tuan going back to his hometown now? Yes, he said he is going back to his hometown. Okay, who said it? Tuan. And what did he say? He is going back home. How do you say he said he's going? 한다고 해요. Good. Actually, did we say past or present? 해요, that's present. So, he says he is going back home. The meaning is the same. Now let's listen to another example, this time with an adjective.
요즘 공장이 좀 바빠진 것 같아요. 네, 주문이 늘어서 일이 좀 많다고 해요.
I think the factory is busy these days. Yes, I heard that there are a lot of things to do because of an increase in orders. All right, let's compare the English and Korean once more. What is the adjective we used with 다고 해요? There are a lot. Good. 많다고 해요. So, the speaker said, I heard. We don't know who said this, but someone said it. That's why we use 가고 해요 in Korean. Now, let's listen to one more example with a noun.
이 사람이 한국에서 가장 인기 있는 가수라고 해요.
I heard this guy is the most popular singer in Korea. Okay, so what's that? What's the noun we heard? 가수, which means in English, singer. How do you say he said he is a singer? 가수라고 해요. Yeah, it seems much simpler in Korean because we didn't use all of the subject now. Now, you could say, I heard blah, blah, blah. And if that's what you say in Korean, just say what you heard first, and then what do you put at the end? 라고 해요. Great. We use past tense more with reported speech in English than we did here in Korean, but both of them make sense. Lesson 39, Grammar 1. What is someone doing when they suggest by saying single consonant to 쉬다? Then, if they say that, you need to report their speech using 자고. The reason for this is the casual, informal way of saying 쉬다 is 자, as in 하자 in Korean, which means let's do something. So, when we report speech about a let's phrase, we use 자고 instead. It doesn't matter if we're in a formal situation because it's a quote, and we still can end the whole sentence with a formal verb expression. So let's practice using 자고 within a sentence. In other words, this is used for a citation. When the citation is a propositive sentence, 자고 하다 is used for that, regardless of whether the stem of the verb is finished with a consonant or not. So let's hear what some people said, let's do.
지훈 씨가 뭐라고 해요? 오늘 한잔 하자고 해요.
What does Jihoon say? He'd like to have a drink today. Okay, he'd like. What's the reported phrase? Have a drink. Great. How do we say that in Korean? 한잔 하자고 해요. Good. You can use this with lots of drinks, not only alcohol, but even tea or coffee. So, 한잔 하자고 해요 means he said, let's have a drink. Great.
Let's have a drink.
이 차는 어디로 갈까요?
치는
1차에서 많이 먹었으니까 노래방에 가자고 하는데요.
Where shall we go for a second round? Maybe because they ate a lot the first round, they said to go to karaoke. Do you know karaoke in Korean? 노래방. Right.
노래방.
It's a way a lot of people enjoy singing together after work. So, how do you say, he said, or they said, let's go to 노래방? 노래방에 가자고 해요. You got it. We ended the verb phrase 하는데요. That means this conversation is still ongoing. And let's see a final suggestion, this time about eating.
오늘 퇴근하고 약속 있어요? 투안 씨가 삼겹살 먹자고 하는데 같이 갈래요?
Do you have an appointment today? Juan says, let's eat pork belly. Would you like to come? Okay, how do you say, he says, let's eat? 먹자고 해요. Good. And here we see the sentence continues on 하는데. So, It's followed by a suggestion. 같이 갈래요? You can use this to connect what someone said with your own idea. If you want to study more, you can suggest, let's study. Then I'll say, 공부하자고 하는데, and then you can ask, shall we study together? 같이 공부할래요? Great! Lesson 39, Grammar 2.
Grammar 2.
We have learned how to report what someone says, that's a statement, and how to report a suggestion. Let's do something. Now let's learn how to report commands. This is important if you're working and your boss says something and you need to tell your coworker, or your coworker needs to tell you. So let's practice. In other words, this is used for a citation. When the citation is an imperative sentence, 으라고 하다, it is used. Consonant, 으라고 하다. To wear, 입다. Says to wear, 입으라고 하다. Vowel, consonant, 라고 하다. To see, 보다. Says to see, 보라고 하다. To open, 열다. Says to open, 열라고 하다. You can see from these examples, when we report a command in English, we use to do something. He says to open the door. But in Korean, we use ra. Where does ra come from? When you give a command politely, you can use the 세요. But when you give it impolitely, as if to a child or very close friend, you can use ra at the end instead. So that's the form we use to report a command that someone gives. But we use a polite ending on the sentence, so the sentence is still polite. Let's hear an example in conversation.
공장장님이 뭐라고 하세요? 오늘 모두 회식에 참석하라고 하세요.
What does the factory manager say? He says to have everyone attend the dinner today. Good. Check it out. What did the manager say? In Korean, 참석하라고. Yes, he said attend. And when we report what he said, we add 라고 하세요. 참석하라고 하세요. So this is also a command. Have everyone attend. Great. Let's listen to another example. It's especially important to catch this if you need to hear it in a work situation.
사장님께서 아직 안 오셨네요. 네, 조금 늦으실 것 같아요. 우리 먼저 먹으라고 하세요.
The boss has not come yet. Yes, I think he will be a little late. He said for us to eat first. Okay, what did the boss say? Eat first. Where is that? 먼저 먹으라고 하세요. Good. He told us to eat first. Now, 하세요 is a polite ending. So, is A being polite? Yes. Is B being polite also? That's right. That's why it says 세요 at the end. Now, do you know in Korean culture, is it okay to eat when the boss is late? Usually never. The boss should attend. to help me. Okay, asking someone is like an order, help me, right? So, to say that in Korean, we use toa, and then to ask for a favor, there's a separate verb. What is it here? 달라, right? 달라고 했어요. I asked someone to help me. Lesson 40, Grammar 1. Finally, it's time to learn how to report questions. Just like 자 is informal for pu시다, 냐 is the informal form for punika, asking a question. So let's see how this works. In other words, this is used for a citation. When the citation is a question, 냐고 하다 is used. Verb, 느냐고 하다. To come, 오다. To ask if a subject is coming, 오느냐고 하다. To eat, 먹다. To ask if the subject is eating, 먹느냐고 하다. Adjective, to be busy, 바쁘다. To ask if the subject is busy, 바쁘냐고 하다. To be good, 좋다. To ask if the subject is good, 좋으냐고 하다. Noun, friend, 친구. To ask if the subject is a friend, 친구냐고 하다. Student, 학생. To ask if the subject is a student, 학생이냐고 하다. Good. There's a little difference here, 친구냐고 and 학생이냐고. Why is that? Which one ends with a vowel? 친구. Good. So we just add 냐고 하다. And which one ends with a consonant? 학생. Right. So we add 이냐고 하다 instead. Now let's see some questions and find out what question was asked.
리안 씨가 나한테 몇 시에 회사에 오느냐고 했어요.
Lihan asked me what time I come to the company. Good. So what did Lihan ask? In Korean? 몇 시에 회사에 오느냐고 했어요. So what did Lihan actually say? Did he say 몇 시에 오느냐? No way. That's just for friends or kids. So you have to ask a question the way we learned before. 몇 시에 옵니까? Great. Now let's listen again.
민우 씨가 칸 씨에게 왜 기분이 좋으냐고 했어요.
Minu asked Khan why he feels good. Wow, Khan must have a big smile on his face. So Minu asked what? 왜 기분이 좋으냐고 했어요. Good. He asked him why he feels good. And finally, let's hear a couple of dialogues. Find out what the main question is.
회식은 재미있었어요? 네. 그런데 투안 씨 어디 갔느냐고 하는 사람들이 많았어요.
Was the party fun? Yes, but there were a lot of people who asked me where Tuan went. Okay, so there was a party. Who left early? Tuan. That means people asked where Tuan was. How did the speaker say? People asked me where Tuan went. 어디 갔느냐고 하는 사람들. Here, we took the phrase 느냐고 하다 and made it into an adjective with 하는 and then people. So people asking about where Tuan went.
어제 회식 때 기분 나빴지요? 네, 그 일을 친구에게 이야기했는데 성희롱이 아니냐고 하던데요.
Did you feel bad yesterday? Guess I talked to a friend about it, and he told me it was sexual harassment. Okay, this is a serious topic. The question in Korean says, why did you feel bad at the after-work party last night? And then the speaker talked to someone. Who did the speaker talk to? 친구에게, right, talk to a friend. And then look at the question. What question did the friend ask? 아니냐고, which means, isn't it, wasn't it? That means the friend thinks this might really be a case of sexual harassment. If this happens to you, what would you do? You should talk to your friend, and you could talk to your boss or coworker too. Now, there are actually two ways to use this when you're talking. Let's check it out. 느냐고 or 냐고 are often used in colloquial speech. Lesson 40, Grammar 2. In this section, let's compare the different forms of reported speech and their abbreviations. In other words, indirect speech, 라고 하다, 으라고 하다, 자고 하다, 냐고 하다, are often used in contracted forms, 돼요, 으래요, 쟤요, 얘요. Contracted forms are used for rumors that are unfounded because the speaker can be an anonymous person rather than a specific person. Let's hear some examples of how to use the contracted forms of reported speech when we're not sure who the speaker was.
오늘 저녁에 모두 다 참석한대요. 김 과장님은 일이 있어서 못 오신대요.
Did you hear that everyone is attending this evening? Manager Kim said he will not be here because of work. Here, two coworkers are talking about their plans after work. They both report what someone else has said. In the first case, what is the reported speech expression? 돼요. Right. What is the full form of that? 다고 하다, 다고 해요. So, the first question says, did you hear? It means it's a question that's did, and here other people are talking, but we don't know exactly who. In the second part, whose speech is reported? Manager Kim, we know who said it, 오신대요. But because of the casual conversation, it's okay to use this abbreviated form.
수루 씨가 뭐래요? 상담센터에 가서 상담을 받을 거래요.
What did Suru say? He said to go to the counseling center and get a consultation. The first question asks what someone said. 뭐, what? 뭐래요? What did he say? Actually, we know 돼요 is the short form for what full reported speech verb? 라고 해요. So literally, it means what did Suru say to do? He made a suggestion. And what was the suggestion? 상담을 받을 거래요. So he said to get counseling. Good. Is this present tense or future? 받을 것이다. 받을 거래요. It's future tense. Great.
과장님께서 뭐라고 말씀하셨어요? 이번 주말에 단합대회를 하재요.
What did the manager say? He said to have a pep rally this weekend. Okay. The first time, we said 뭐라고 말씀하셨어요? Why? Why is that? Do we know the speaker? Yes, he's the manager. But the second time it changed to 하재요. Why is that? Well, we didn't say his name again. So we can use the abbreviated form 재요. And in the final example, listen carefully. What kind of speech is being reported?
상담센터에서 뭐라고 해요? 증거다, 증인이 있냐요.
What did they say at the counseling center? They asked me to have evidence or witnesses. Okay, what kind of thing was repeated? They asked me, so it's a question. What's the abbreviation? 예요. Great. You can see different situations need different kinds of reported speech ending. Keep listening to these until you are comfortable and can hear the difference. Lesson 41, Grammar 1. Now, we've seen this before and used in two different ways. Here's a third way, and it means that we do something using a certain way or technique. It can be used for modes of transportation, such as boat or airplane, as in go by boat or by air. It's useful for working with different tools and equipment as well. In other words, this is to express an instrument, a method, a tool, or a means used to perform an action. It is attached to a noun only. Consonant, 으로. saw, 톱, with a saw, 톱으로. Vowel, consonant, 로. Hammer, 망치, with a hammer, 망치로. Drill, 드릴, with a drill, 드릴로. When you use a tool at work, you use 로 or 으로 to say doing this task with something. Let's hear some other types of examples and some examples like that.
이 책상은 나무로 만들었어요.
This desk is made of wood. Oh, wait a minute. Does it mean we made a desk using a piece of wood to build it, like a hammer? No. Now we mean the material the desk is made of is wood itself. So here's another way to use 로. It means made of something. What if something is made of plastic? 플라스틱으로. Great. And what if something is made of glass, like a door or a window? 유리로. Now let's hear an example about types of transportation.
배로 보내면 요금이 싸요.
The rate is cheap if you send by ship. Where will you use this? At the post office. And a final example about tools.
그건 톱으로 자르면 안 돼요. 그럼 뭘로 잘라요?
You should not cut it with a saw. Then what do I cut it with? In the first statement, what is the tool? 톱. How do you say with a saw in Korean? 톱으로. In the second question, the speaker asks what to cut it with. How do you say with what in Korean? 뭘로. Good. You got it. Lesson 41, Grammar 2. How do you say that you're doing something in Korean? You add go 있다. You will use this a lot. It's like doing something in Korean. And you can use it with action verbs. For example, you could say, I'm studying. How can you say I am studying in Korean? 공부하고 있다. If you change the ending, 공부하고 있어요. Good. Are you ready to listen? In other words, this is used to indicate the present progressive and thus is used when an action is currently taking place. It is attached to a verb and does not change, whether finished with a consonant or not. Let's hear some examples and listen for the verb.
포장은 다 끝났어요? 아니요. 밴딩기로 포장하고 있어요.
Are you finished packaging? No, I'm packing it with a strapping machine. Good. What is the action verb? 포장하고 있어요. 포장 means to wrap or to pack something. Now we'll hear another example.
리안 씨는 작업장에서 용접을 하고 있어요.
Lihan is welding at the workshop. Good. What is Lihan doing? He's welding something. We can see 하고 있어요. What is this in English? Is doing something, and then add the kind of action before. Here's a final example with another verb.
저는 전기 드릴로 벽에 구멍을 뚫고 있어요.
I'm drilling a hole in the wall with an electric drill. Some of this vocabulary is different and difficult, like the word for drilling, but you can understand there's an action going on if you catch 고 있어요 at the end. Lesson 42, Grammar 1. When you're not sure about something and want to ask, you ask if someone else knows how to do something. You can also say that you're not sure how to do something. Let's learn about both ways so you can express your need for help and get help when you need it. In other words, this is used to express cognizance of a fact about the front sentence. It is combined with the verb, and 는지 알다, 는지 모르다 is used regardless of whether or not there is a coda of the verb stem. If you use the first case, 는지 알다, it means I know how to do something. If you use the second one, 는지 모르다, it means you don't know how to do something. But if you use 알다 as a question, you ask someone else if they know how. Let's hear some examples.
이 기계를 어떻게 끄는지 알아요? 네, 손잡이를 왼쪽으로 돌리면 돼요.
Do you know how to turn this machine off? Yes, you can turn the knob to the left. The question asks how to do something. Do you know how? How do you say, do you know how? 는지 알아요? Great. And listen again to the second example.
이걸 어떻게 꽂는지 모르겠어요. 이쪽을 잡고 꽂으면 돼요.
I do not know how to put this in. You can grab this and plug it in. Okay, where are they today? Right, in the factory or maybe a construction place. So the first is a statement. Instead of asking, do you know? What phrase is used? I do not know. Right. And the ending of the verb is 는지 모르겠어요. Why did we say 겠어요 from get? It's the part of the verb that makes it more polite. Lesson 42, Grammar 2. We've learned kokata before. Now let's add to surmise something about the future. This is for what you think is going to happen. You can share what you think will happen next by using this grammar form. In other words, this is used to express when supposing the occurrence of an action or situation that has yet to occur. It can be combined with verbs and adjectives. Let's hear some examples of what people guess about the future.
언제 작업이 끝날 것 같아요? 6시쯤 끝날 것 같아요.
When do you think the work will be finished? I think it will be over around 6 o'clock. Here it was used as a question first, meaning what do you think? And then it's used with a verb to show what activity. So, when do you think it will be finished? If we take out 언제, when, what is the verb phrase? 끝날 것 같아요. Great. And how does the speaker answer? First, they say the time, and then they finish using the same phrase, 끝날 것 같아요. It's like an echo. Now let's hear another example about the weather.
곧 비가 올 것 같아요. 그래요? 우산은 가지고 왔어요?
I think it will rain soon. Really? Did you bring your umbrella? How do you say I think something? 올 것 같아요. Good. So, I think it will rain, or in Korean, I think rain will come soon. 비가 올 것 같아요. Great. What if you think it will snow soon? 눈이 올 것 같아요. Good. Lesson 43, Grammar 1. This expression comes from the verb 놓다, which means to put in place. It is used to describe finishing something completely. You can express that you intend to complete an action or that it has already been completed by using the future